Welcome, Annie here. Today we'll be creating this fun Santa Christmas card. Let's go over the products I used to create this card. VersaFine ink in Onyx Black. This is Versa Magic in Sea Breeze. Sheer Shimmer Spray in Frost, which I went ahead and sprayed our snowbank here ahead of time so I had plenty of time to dry. A variety of Memento markers like Cottage Ivy, Rich Coco, Tuxedo Black, Angel Pink, Desert Sand, Ladybug. This one is Bamboo Leaves, and our last one is London Fog. I use these to color in our images. Okay, some Amplify in white, and we're going to use that to create some fun detail to our card. Embossing powder and Lucky Stars, which is a nice shimmery, glittery embossing powder. We used the rabbit hole design Kringle stamp set. We're going to use the trees, the banner, Santa, and the Merry Christmas sentiment. I went ahead and stamped and colored my images. I did the two smaller trees and the larger tree, Santa himself there, and I'm going to color one tree with you on screen, and I'll stamp our sentiment into that small banner right there. I have a cloud stencil that I'll be using for our background, layering 65-pound cardstock for our background, and a A2 side folding 110-pound card base. We're also going to bring in our On Point glue and our Imagine Crafts Terra tape, as well as some gel pens. Well, I used them already. I'm just going to let you know I used them on my Santa. I used the gold and silver metallics on his skate blades and his belt, and I used the white to add a few little details to his clothes, hats, and boots. I'm going to bring in some finishing sprinkles here of clay snowflakes. All right, let me clear my desk and let's get started. All right, we're going to start with our cloudy background. We're going to grab our VersaFine Sea Breeze ink, our blending brush, and our stencil. And we're just going to load up our blending brush with some ink and just swirl it onto our stencil and then off onto the layering cardstock, rotating the stencil as we go so we get a variety of clouds in the background. We're going to go pretty far down, but not all the way down, because our snowbank will meet us somewhere there. This is going to be a nice soft background once it dries. It's very subtle. It's not meant to be bold or anything. It's just a nice little soft cloudy sky. All right, we'll set this to the side. And there's our snowbank. I'm making sure that I have enough covered in my background. We're going to bring in our images. Let's go ahead and color our this is our larger of the trees. We're going to start with Rich Coco for the trunk of our tree. And we're going to use Cottage Ivy. For the large trees, I use Cottage Ivy, and for the smaller trees, I use Bamboo Leaves. We're just coloring in and filling in the little sections of our tree. Then we'll set it aside to dry, and we'll come back to it again in a little while. This is a quick and easy coloring, and I'm using the brush nib side of the pen. Now for our sentiment, I went ahead and curved it already on our block so that it fits that little wavy banner. I'm going to bring in the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is a nice detailing ink, to stamp this small sentiment. Excuse my head, trying to get it all in there evenly. So now I'm going to sprinkle the embossing powder, which is the Lucky Stars, which is a nice shimmery green embossing powder. I'm going to shake off the excess, see if I missed any spots, and funnel back any of the extra. Now I'm going to heat set this, but before I do, I'm going to bring in my Amplify medium here, and this is got a nice little nib on it, or it's got a detailing point there, and I'm just gonna draw with it little striations in his beard, and it's gonna come out glossy and flat, but once you heat it, it's gonna create nice dimension to our Santa's beard, the fluff of his coat, his little pom-pom of his hat, and the brim of his hat. I also put a little bit in his hair. Just going to put a few more little dots in there, making sure I stay within the beard section. So this actually puffs up when you heat it up. It's really cool and it adds a nice fun texture to it. But once it first goes on, it looks all glossy. So I'm going to grab my heat tool, heat set my sentiment here. Make sure all the embossing powder is nice and melted before we move on to our Santa. So I'm going to get it picked up, trying to make sure that my fingers don't get in that Amplify. And I'm just going to heat it, and as you heat it, unfortunately I wasn't in close enough, so you can't see it puff up right away, but I'll show you a little close up once I'm done heating it up. It is such a cool thing. It would be fun to show your kids. Glossy, and then heat it up and they'll be like, oh, it's magic. So there it is, a little more close up. You can see all the detail, and it even feels fluffy. It's super cool. Okay, so now it's time to start putting our card together. Let's go ahead and add the last details to our tree. I'm just taking again the Cottage Ivy marker, and I just added some flicked lines so that it looks like little boughs to our tree. I fussy cut it out as well as our banner so that we can then adhere this to our card. I don't like the white edges, so I'm using the Tuxedo black marker, and I'm going to color the edges of our tree and our banner that we just cut out. Now for our layering background, I want to cut off about a 1/4 inch or so all the way around. I want to have a little mat. So I cut this down to 4 and then to 5 1/4 so that I have this nice little mat all the way around my card front. I put some tear tape on the back so I can adhere this layer to our card base. Tear tape makes everything so much easier because you just put it on there, remove the backing, and just adhere this to your projects together. So then I can adhere this layer to my card base. Get that as centered as I possibly can. And I should have adhered my snow first, but I forgot. So I'm just going to mark it real quick with a light pencil so I know where to cut my excess off. So if you're putting snow on your card, make sure that you cut it, adhere it and cut it before. So adhere it before you cut it here. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Adhere it to your card panel before you adhere it to your card base. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to use some on-point glue to adhere my snowbank. I'm doing this because it's liquid glue and it gives me a little wiggle room, so I make sure I get it on there straight. I'll press it into place, give it a few seconds, and once it sets, I can move on. I'm going to use a little bit more of that same on-point glue to adhere all our little trees. So I put 2 trees to the left of Santa and 2 to the right of him. I place a large tree on either end, and then going towards the center, the 2 smaller trees. I missed a spot there, so I'm adding a little more glue so it doesn't peel up. And then for Santa himself, I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back of him. I just want to raise him, but I don't want, it's not a very high definition foam tape. It's a low profile foam tape, so he has a little bit of height. As for our sentiment, we're going to go ahead and adhere that straight to our card. I'm not popping it up, so I'm going to use a little pieces of tear tape here really quickly so we can adhere our sentiment. I'm going to stick that over to the right hand side. And all that's left now is to add our finishing touches, which are these 2 shades of blue and white snowflakes. So I'm just going to put a little, spread them around on our card here. Just adding, I add the little drops of the on point glue, and then I go ahead and start adding my snowflakes to them. I do this because this makes it easier for me to know exactly where to put them. Since I planned it out ahead, I don't have to rethink it all out. I decided to put a few closer to the trees, and 2 of them will be on the actual trees. I just keep moving them around, making sure I have a nice variety of them. And I put more on this card than I usually do when I'm embellishing my cards, because they're snowflakes and it's a snowy day. Trying to get that last one on there. And now our card is complete. We have all of our embellishments on there. You can see Santa's fuzzy beard, our fun background, and our glittery sentiment. So the products we used were Imagine Crafts Terra Tape, a variety of Memento markers. We used some gel pens. We used the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, the VersaMagic Sea Breeze, a cloud stencil, and the Rabbit Hole Designs Kringle stamp set, as well as on point glue, the Amplify in white for our Santa's beard and his little accessories on his clothes, some sheer shimmer spray in frost for our snowbank here, and some snowflakes to finish it all off. Like always, I will have everything I use in the description box below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you can keep receiving more inspiration from our design team. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you found some inspiration, and give us a thumbs up. Let me know what you think. Thank you.